Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow interviews. I'm Giovanni Moschieri, your sports media director here at WXOU, and I am not alone here. Well, I'm technically alone in the room here, but I am joined by a lovely virtual guest on the GioMoShow. You know her as a very common name heard in the arena during their volleyball games, but you can also catch her on ESPN Plus, as she has done many games of sideline reporting and a bunch of social media for the Golden Grizzlies social media accounts. It's Patti Cesarini, everybody. Patti, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Very excited to be talking about your career and just how you got here. There's nothing more that I love, you know what I mean, than just learning the background, learning where these athletes came from, because Division 1 is no joke and everyone's got a different journey to getting here. So I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to get started. So I feel like I'm interviewing two people here. I mentioned the volleyball stuff, but you also have a growing broadcasting career. So we're going to be touching on both. But I do want to start with the volleyball. So a
Sure.
very basic question, just kind of where did you get started in volleyball? Was it always the sport that you played, or did someone get you into it? Like, where'd you start playing volleyball?
Yeah, so my family was actually, or they still are, we're a very big basketball family. So my mom played in college. My dad played, oh God, for I don't even know how long. Like even in adult men's leagues and stuff like that. My sister still plays and she'll be playing in college next year. So I always grew up basketball, basketball, basketball. Thought I wanted to play basketball in college. And then I was just playing for my grade school team, playing volleyball for my grade school team, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And then one of the parents went up to my mom and was like, "Hey, she should try out for Lions Juniors First Alliance, which is a travel club volleyball team or program in Illinois." And I was like, "All right, yeah, sure." I don't really know what like the club world is like for volleyball, but let's do it. So I tried out. My first year, I actually hated it. I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so bad after my first year. And my mom was like, "Look, you're pretty good at it. Why don't you just stick it out for another year? If you really hate it after another year, then you can quit. That's fine." So I was still playing basketball and doing club volleyball on top of that. And then my 13th year, I actually I loved it. I loved everything about it. I just switched I was first and middle, and then I went to be an outside, and it was just so much fun. I loved the new position that I was playing and fell in love with it from there, and obviously took it all the way throughout college.
So was it difficult to break away from basketball? Because I noticed on your Golden Grizzlies account that you lettered in basketball in high school. So was it a little bit of took some convincing of your parents or your family, like, oh, let me do the volleyball? Or were you just completely, or was everyone fine with what you were doing?
I mean, they loved that I was doing it. It was kind of funny at first because they didn't understand, because they didn't really play volleyball. But obviously, you sit and you watch, and just like any other sport that you're observing, you obviously come to know the sport a lot more, the ins and the outs. But yeah, I played high school basketball, obviously high school volleyball, and it was my after my junior year that I quit playing basketball. I knew that the road it was going to have to come to an end at some point, and it just wasn't really working out for me because I was spending so much time playing volleyball, trying to get recruited to play in college, and I was not focusing so much on basketball. I loved playing, I loved my teammates, I loved everything about it, but I knew it was going to have to come to an end. And then obviously my senior year, I didn't want to quit basketball, but I figured, I know I'm not going to be doing this for forever, and I think it's just time to kind of end it. And it was sad. And going back and watching my sister play, it's sometimes I'm like, oh, I really wish I would have just played an extra year just to get it. And we actually would have ended up playing with each other because we're 3 years apart. So she would have been a freshman, I would have been a senior. We would have been playing on the same team. Um, so it was tough, but I knew that let's just focus on volleyball from here on out.
So what? So that decision to take volleyball that seriously, like at what point did you know, like for sure, like okay, I'm really good at volleyball, like good enough to even continue in college? Like, was there a certain game or a moment that kind of flipped the switch, or is it just more like you just knew how the paths were gonna go?
So I really think it was my 15s year playing club volleyball. Obviously, 13s and 14s year, you loved it, but 15s, towards the end of your 15s year, is when you start to kind of get interest from colleges and stuff like that. And coaches will reach out to all the NCAA rules and stuff. They'll reach out to your coach and then they'll relay the message. And you can always reach out to the coaches. But first, when you're at that age, and obviously they've changed completely from what they were when I was younger and going through all of that to what they are now. So that's when I started to get interest from coaches, was towards the end of my 15s year, and then 16s year, it kind of just, that's when everything starts to kind of escalate and you really start talking to coaches and stuff like that. And usually around your junior year, so when I'm 17, you start going on visits and all that stuff. So it's really just a really steep slope. It just takes off. And I think once I started getting that recognition and stuff, and I started to realize I could go on and I could play at the next level, and that realization was kind of just like, yeah, all right, I think this is it. And I also tried travel basketball, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. It's like, I don't really want to do this. I kind of just want to play it for fun, but I didn't want to take it to the next level like I did with volleyball.
So when you're starting to get that attention from other coaches, does that like how much pressure does that put on you once you're continuing in high school, knowing okay, like the eyes are on you? Does that add a lot of pressure?
I mean, there's definitely some pressure with it for sure. And it's different for every athlete how you end up dealing with it. For me, I knew I knew what I was capable of on the court and stuff. And almost when they came to watch you at your tournaments and stuff like that, it was always like, this is kind of nice. Like they're here to watch me. They've taken interest in me. And then I also just always I would see him out of the corner of my eye or something like that, when you're just doing whatever on the court in between plays. But then as soon as I saw him, it was just like I blocked it out. It was just the 60 by 30, or yeah, 60 by 30 but rectangle that I was just focusing on. That was it.
So after a kill, you weren't looking to the coaches like,
No. No, no, I was not. I was all in my teammates and stuff. And I mean, afterwards, um, you could always reach out to the coaches that you saw that were there or something like that, or even they would reach out to you and be like, hey, saw you play today, all that stuff. But I was always just really focused on what was going on my court and how my team was doing and stuff. And I never really focus on who's in the crowd. Even now today, I'm never really focused on what's going on outside of the court.
so when you're getting recruited, so that around this time, like this is the like 2020, 2021 kind of years, right? When you're starting to get recruited. So how did COVID kind of impact or make that, more of a difficult process being recruited and, coming to Oakland to play?
So I got lucky and I actually committed before COVID, before the whole COVID thing. So when I was 17 in the fall of, what is that, 2017 then? No, 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 no. Yeah, wait, no. I don't know. My junior year. It was
Okay.
my junior year. I don't even want to try and do the math to like go back in the years, but it was my junior year of high school in the fall. I committed. So I knew where I was going. I knew like my plan, my path going forward. And then obviously your senior year is when you sign the papers and you sign the national letter of intent saying, yep, I'm going here. Cause all of that is just verbal so far.
Right.
So even after I committed, my in the fall of my junior year of high school, that was just a verbal commitment. Nothing was really set in stone. So I still had to keep up with, performing, and it didn't really matter. I was going to do that regardless, but there was always kind of that lurking in the back of your head that it's like, don't screw this up. Like, don't do something stupid and screw this up and you're going to lose that spot that you have. So then obviously fall of senior year, signed the national letter of intent. I was good to go. Still kept on, living, doing all my volleyball stuff. And then it was the end of my senior year of high school where my club season got cut short because of COVID. And that sucked because we had a really good team. We qualified for nationals. So all of us were just really upset with it that we couldn't go on and compete at nationals at the end of the year. But it is what it is, it happened. And then my whole freshman year of college at Oakland, obviously we're a fall sport. So that was different. That got affected and our schedule had to be changed a little bit. We didn't play all the teams in the league. Traveling was different. That's really what got affected by COVID.
Yeah, and I see like some of the pictures like through the slideshow of your profile. Like you got like the pictures you guys had masks on when you're playing. And
Yep, we had to play with those. That sucked. That was not fun.
I've never like I haven't had to do that. My sport was swimming in high school, and like my senior year was 2020 as well. So like I in terms of athletics, I dodged that whole thing. But like
Yeah.
trying to play with that, especially indoors, like is how much more difficult is that?
Um, I
That
don't think it was like,
the protocols as well.
yeah. Let's see, what were I mean, I think it was we were getting tested all the time, periodically throughout the fall. Um, I don't even know what all the rules were anymore, between if like someone got sick and all that and blah blah blah, whatever. Um, it wasn't enjoyable playing with a mask on. I was constantly pulling it down, wiping your face. It was just an added thing. It was, in my opinion, it was just kind of just something that was in the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just there, and wasn't fun for anybody that had to do has to do it. So.
But regardless of that, at least according to the profile, you made the Horizon League All Freshman team your freshman year, and even this past season, your first team All Horizon League. So, moving past all that, for your performance, at least individually, the past 2 years, like you become one of the star names on the volleyball team, at least according to how many times Kevin Beers announces.
My guy, Kevin. Thank you.
So for you, like in that, reaching that kind of level, at least amongst the team. So like, I'm curious, like, just your experience competing at that level and just, I guess, competing in college in general.
I was really fortunate that the club that I played for, First Alliance, they set you up for a lot of success in the future and train you like how you would kind of train as a college athlete, in terms of the coaching and stuff, the lifting and coming into that whole world as a freshman. That was completely different. We didn't do a whole lot of that, but skill set wise, the coaching that First Alliance had, and teaching us as young volleyball players what it takes to play at the next level. So I was really fortunate that I was able to experience that at First Alliance. And then obviously coming in and playing with girls who are a year to 4 years older than you, that was different. You're seeing a whole lot more power coming from girls, a lot more height. So everything was just a lot faster. So regardless of what I learned and what I was prepared for at from First Alliance, it was still a little bit of a change. I had to get faster. I had to get stronger to keep up with the girls too. And just the pace of the game was a lot faster. So that took some getting used to, but I think once you get used to that and you just keep working hard every day, you're depending on your teammates, they're depending on you, and you just want to work hard for them and win and compete for your teammates.
So talk to me about the relationship that you have with your teammates, because between every play, there's a short 5-second huddle, and I'm curious, like for moments like that and in practice, like what's the relationship like with you and your teammates? Like what are you saying in those huddles, for example?
A lot of it is kind of, you come in, and a lot of it, if it's a good play and we get the point, it's a lot of excitement, a lot of rah rah. But on times when things aren't really going our way, it could be, hey, I think we could be doing this differently, or hey, let's get the next point, simplify things. It's some stuff is tactical things, and then other times you kind of want, depending on how the game's going, you kind of want to leave that out and kind of just be like, all right, let's reset, let's get the next point, focus on the next thing. And I think this past year, especially in the spring, we focused a lot on that huddle, and that came from our coaching staff too, from Krista Rice and Kyle Stahl and Rick Wooten Smith. They said that huddle is so important that you can't just go in there for a second and then just kind of break away. Like there has to be some sort of meaningful translation that is going on in the circle, and you can't let someone break away earlier than the rest of the group. You have to be in there and you have to be very tight knit. And I think that was a little bit of a change from what we're used to, because sometimes it would be a little bit, it's something so small, but it makes the world a difference. Is that when it was a looser huddle or just like, yeah, okay, and then everyone goes back to their own spot, I don't think it was as effective. And we really found that out this past spring. And if we caught someone kind of floating or drifting away, you'd kind of just grab them and pull them back in and be like, all right, let's go. And then I think that it builds a lot more camaraderie, a lot more trust, and it makes the world a difference, something so little.
So you got to make sure your team stays anchored.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I'm sure there's times where things get foggy and you are just floating around, but
Yes, definitely.
I'm sure it's important.
It is.
So talking about this past season here and kind of looking towards the next, like what was your feelings on this past season? I can't remember the record. I believe 11-19 was the season record. Not to rub it in, it's factual. But from your experience and the rest of the team, how'd you guys feel about this past season?
I think, from speaking for everyone on the team, including the coaching staff, we weren't, how do I put this? I'd say we want more out of it. We don't want kind of another, if the, I don't even remember what the record is, but if it is 11-19, that's not something that we want again. And we know that we are capable of so much more. And it was a lot of growing. This was a big growing year. We lost, I think, 9 seniors last year. So we lost about almost half of our team, which is a lot. And it was a big transition year, new coaching staff, again, losing those 9 girls. It was a big change.
Mhm.
So, but we all know what we're capable of. So I think, and we talked a lot about this in the spring, our thing is championship mentality, is going into every practice, every game, knowing that we can win a championship and knowing that we want to win a championship and doing things that are going to put us in a position to succeed in order to win a championship. And that we wrote it on our whiteboard too, in a big font. Mm-hmm. So it's something that we're constantly thinking about. And even going into this summer, whether that's workouts that Terry gives us, or you're going to play with your club and practicing on your own too. It's just always having that mindset of championship mentality and working hard in the off season, so that when you do get there in the fall, you are ready to go, you're ready to rock, and we want a ring. So we're going for that this year.
That whiteboard says ring me.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna say.
One last question on the volleyball before we move on to the broadcasting. A little more of a lighthearted one. Are you able to play volleyball casually anymore after playing it so seriously for so long? Like, can you kind of break away from the championship mentality and just play at the beach or something? Or is that all gone?
I wouldn't say it's all gone. I think, at least for now, when I do go and play, or I'm going to a practice and stuff, it's a lot loose, a lot more loose. You're kind of hanging out with old friends and stuff like that. But I always think, I'm not just here just to play. I'm not just here to just goof around and have fun. I'm here to get reps. I'm here to get ready for the next season. So I guess in a way, yes, it also depends on the setting. So like if I'm at the beach with my friends, and we're just passing around a volleyball and stuff, like that's all good fun and whatnot. But if I'm going to actually practice with another team at my club or something like that, I'm taking it pretty seriously. Like I'm trying to get better and stay in shape and that kind of stuff.
All right. So now finally moving on to the broadcasting stuff, a little bit of my world, a little bit. I would say welcome, but I think we got in at about the same time. So I don't know if it counts. So what got you into the broadcasting thing? Is that always been something like a dream of yours, or like you've always wanted to do it? Or is it more of you stumbled on the opportunity here at Oakland?
I honestly kind of stumbled on the opportunity. So my freshman year coming in, I was an undecided business major. And it only took a few classes for me to decide I can't do business. I hate business. It wasn't for me. Like I feel like a lot of, also that's almost, I don't want to say it's not really a cop out for for a freshman to go in under business, but I feel like it's very common for, if you don't know what you want to do, go into business. At least that's from my perspective, how I've seen things play out. But I did that. I really hated it. And then it was my sophomore year of, was it in the spring? I think it was, yeah, more so in the spring of my sophomore year, that Brittany Welch, she used to be on the team. She kind of introduced me to the world of sports broadcasting because she was the reporter at the school. And I don't know what it was, but I knew that business wasn't for me. And when I really had to kind of sit back and look at, okay, what do I want to do instead of that? And it just took a lot of reflecting. Okay, what do I know? What am I good at? And what can I see kind of long term? And I said, okay, what do I know? Sports. It's like I grew up in a very athletic household, watching a lot of sports, playing a lot of different sports. So I was like, okay, what do I know? Sports. What am I good at? I can talk. It's like I can talk people's ears off. I always joke around and I'm like, I will literally talk to a wall.
Yeah.
Very social. I can talk, that kind of thing. And what can I see myself doing long term and really loving is sports, because I said, all right, if I graduate, that's been a part of my life for 22 years at that point, looking into the future. How am I supposed to just completely cut that out?
Right.
And I can't, I don't think I could do that. I really don't think and I can't see myself going to a corporate job and sitting down at like a 9 to 5 and doing that, because the schedule for the past, what will be 22 years of my life is all, you got to be at the gym at this time, or it's constantly changing, you know what I mean? Practice times, game times, and there's never really a set rigid schedule like you would with a certain 9 to 5. So Brittany introduced me to sports reporting, and I said, wow, okay, yeah, I really like this. I really like what you're doing. And I think the opportunity that I really ended up stumbling on is I was shadowing her at a OU baseball game that she was reporting, and Neil was doing the play-by-play and the color.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think the game wasn't going too well. I'm just gonna be honest. It wasn't going very well for the OU baseball team, and Giz, John Suzuki, aka Giz, Giz, was like, okay, Neil really needs some help up there. Like, he's all alone. He's trying to do this game. And it was going on. It was going on. The game was just taking forever. It was lagging. Yeah. It was a little tough. And Brittany was like, why don't you put Patti on there? And I looked at her and I was like, you must be crazy. I was like, I've done I looked at Giz and I was like, with like puppy dog eyes, and I was like, if you do this, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he's like, that's a fantastic idea. And I was like, are you kidding? I was like, I haven't done any research on any of the opposing team. I haven't done statistical research for our team. I was like, I've watched them play, but how am I supposed to kind of commentate on this game when I don't have any preparation for it other than what I've seen from them this year? So he's like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Go ahead. And I was like, all right. So we kind of just winged it. I went up there with Neil, and he's fantastic. He knew the situation that I was coming in. He just wanted somebody to talk to. And we had, just a conversation. I was up there for a few innings with him. And Giz was like, that was great. Like, what were you so worried about? I was like, I don't know. I still kind of am worried. I was like, I don't really understand like that kind of world yet, but from obviously watching and listening to sports, you grasp the concept of it and you understand how to go about it. And things kind of took off from there. And yeah, that was crazy. I vividly remember that moment, and just the pang in my chest where I was like, okay, this is happening. We gotta go. So it worked out, but everything really took off from that moment afterwards. So I'm very thankful to Brittany for throwing me in that position, even though I, at the moment, was like, what are you doing? And thankful to Giz for trusting me with that, and also Neil too, putting up with me with him on there, someone who's never done this before, and just working through it. So I'm very grateful to those three and everyone else that's in the athletic and media department at the school.
Yeah, it's definitely terrifying. I remember
Oh yeah.
like starting to do basketball. I didn't follow basketball at all. All I knew was football, sort of. But
Hmm.
I and there was a lot of times where like I just said nothing. I
Yeah.
had to do
Yeah.
color commentary of like that. That's right. You got to have that mentality. It's just it's filler, but after a while you do get used to it, and
Oh yeah.
especially with Neil, he makes it very easy. The dude's a total professional.
Yes, he does. He makes it very easy. But like you said, the first few times you do it, you're like, "Oof, okay, I'm really nervous," but then obviously you get used to it, and it becomes more natural. But I mean, for me, I'm still growing in the area. So,
Yeah. So along with the broadcasting and like the ESPN cast, you've also done a lot of work with the Golden Grizzly social media stuff. You've done, I have it written down here. What they're called, full court press. So you've done a few episodes of that, interviews with athletes. You've done in the hot seats, I believe, with
yeah.
it was with Crystal Davis, the
Yes.
assistant women's basketball coach. And then another big project was after the whistle.
Mhm.
For getting all those projects and getting involved with the athletics department in that way, how did that go about it? Was it just kind of flowered from that baseball game with Giz throwing you in there?
Yeah, so yeah, pretty much. Like I said, it all started with that. And at the end of sophomore year, like one of the later dates in the springtime, I actually ended up reporting for the softball game.
Mhm.
And that was my first time ever sideline reporting. It was a doubleheader. Again, super nervous, but you gotta, what's the saying? Like, you can't teach someone how to swim without just throwing them in there and letting them figure it out or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it was one of those moments.
mentality.
So yeah. So that was really the first time I was immersed in actually sideline reporting myself. And then this past year, my junior year, Giz said, we want you to do the basketball games, we want you to do the baseball and the softball games. And I was like, check, 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 check. Yes, I'm totally in. And then it was just a collaborative effort of getting um putting ideas out there for like full court press, after the whistle, in the hot seat. And I think it's OUTV,
Mhm.
who actually produces the full court press, and that was something that they had a few years back, but it kind of got canceled or just kind of washed away. And then they reached out to Giz and said, "Hey, we really want to start this back up again. Do you know anybody who could potentially host the show?" And he's like, "I have just the gal for you." So that's how that got started. In the hot seat was Natalie Longroy's idea.
Mhm.
She's the video coordinator. That was
Love
her,
that. That's the
yeah,
best.
that was her idea because she's seen that, what's his face does it. I can't think of the name. One of those late night TV show people, they do it all the time where they eat the hot wings and stuff. So she wanted to do her own little take on that. And then we're also sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. So that was her idea. And then after the whistle was Giz again, he said, I want to do some sort of kind of like late night talk show type of thing. What do you like podcast, because they had the Greg Campy show at RJ's. He's
Right.
like, I want to do something similar-ish for you. So then that got implemented, and that was really, really a group effort. Everyone in the media department. You had CJ, you had Nat, you had Emmy, you had Andrea, Giz. That was all of us. And we sat down a couple times and just said, okay, what do we want this show to be about? How do we want to go about it? Do we want fun things also thrown in there? Because, we always had little games. Like half the segment was more of a serious interview, than the other half was just a bunch of fun games, just get to know the athletes and stuff. So that was really a collaborative effort with everybody in the media department, to sit down and figure out what that show is going to be about. And honestly, even um all of it too, the promoting for it, the um like the Twitter page, when it comes to graphics and stuff, that's everybody in that department that is working to create and kind of foster this
Mhm.
really cool environment that they allowed me to go in and put my own little spin on it. So again, I'm super, super grateful and thankful to all of them because none of this would ever be possible without every single person in the athletic department and within that media office.
It really is insane. Like I've seen a little bit of behind the scenes of like what they do in terms of like making graphics and promoting like that. It's a lot of work once you see
Yeah.
like CJ Round, he posts videos like sped up or I should say time
Mhm.
lapse of him editing this like what looks like a
Yeah.
simple graphic. And like the thing is, every little detail you see is a decision and an action. So like you just realize like these guys are working their butts off.
Yes, they are.
I mean,
They are.
I think they do a great job. I really enjoy working with them the two times I do.
Oh my god, yeah, they're a joy. They're fun people to be around, very hardworking, and like you said, they love what they do, and that you can see that they pour that into everything that they produce for all the student athletes.
What was my other question? I missed it. so, so for next year, looking to the future, you is your role looking to be expanded, or do you guys have any other ideas we can get a sneak peek of for next year?
Yeah, so next year things I think are kind of going to stay the course. So again, a lot of basketball games, and then same with softball and baseball games. I'll be doing all of those. Um this past year, I couldn't do as much because I was also coaching a 14-year volleyball team, which was a blast, but at the same time it made me realize I'm missing out on some huge opportunities to further grow in the area that I want to grow in sports reporting. So every time I kind of had to miss because I had that obligation for coaching those 14-year-old kids, I was just like, oh, that kind of stinks and stuff. But I did. I at the same time, I loved coaching. I loved it's unified volleyball club. I loved being there and working with the kids and also, kind of working on a different aspect of my life and coaching. But I think next year I said I really need to focus on my career, my future career, and pour everything that I have into that. So I will no longer be coaching. But I will be ready. I will be available for every single thing that they asked me to do. And whenever they did ask, like Giz asked me to do something for him, it was always yes, okay, 100%.
Mhm.
Unless I had volleyball to coach.
Right.
But this year I said we are wiping the schedule completely clean, and the only thing that I will be having time for and making sure that I have the time for is to do everything and anything that I can for reporting for the school.
So it looks like I'm going to be getting a lot less opportunities for sideline now. But I'm really happy to hear that. I'm excited to see what you're going to be doing next year. And I really appreciate you coming on to the Jomo show for an interview all the way from the Chicago area.
Chicagoland area, yes.
Hell yeah. So thank you very much for joining the Jomo show. You can tune in to the live show of the Jomo show on WXOU on Thursdays at 6. And you can also catch the episode at your convenience on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you very much, Patti, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.